Hi guys, Miss Yandale here. I hope you're having a really great week. So this week what I want to do is talk to you about a specific poem written by William Wordsworth. It's called The Solitary Reaper. You can find it on page 342 of the text if you want to head on over there. One note that I thought I'd make while you're turning over there is to really take advantage of the footnotes that have been made available to you by the book's editors. And if you haven't noticed already, whenever there are words that are archaic, like for instance, we don't use those terms anymore or use those terms in that particular way, very often the text will note to you to the side, here's what this means in today's language. Also, if you haven't noticed at the bottom, they spend time kind of explaining things of interest that, for instance, are historical in nature or have something to do about the author or the subject, and you just have more information, and it can be very enlightening and can inform your reading and enhance your reading of a particular poem. In this case, on page 342, there's a footnote at the side of the title, and they let you know that this is one of William Wordsworth's pieces that he wrote based not on his own experience, but on someone else's. And he read about that experience in a tour book that he wrote. And you can see it there with me, but at the bottom it tells us that Thomas Wilkinson wrote a book called Tours to the British Mountains in 1824. And it's in this book that Wordsworth read that there's this section that discusses the author seeing this solitary worker and the situation. And it goes right there if you want to read that. She's singing in the Gaelic language of Scotland, and it really piques William Wordsworth's interest. And I'm sure, among other things, he's interested in the fact that there's this woman out by herself. This is kind of unheard of, especially for people of wealth. Why would you send a woman out by herself in a field working in hard labor? What kind of woman is this? What can be surmised here? Well, we're going to read this poem together, and I want you to pay attention to how Wordsworth focuses on her isolation. And we can assume then that because of his focus on this, that's part of the thing that interests him is, what is her story? Why is she out here by herself? Who's watching out for her? She could fall prey to anything, right? And what is she singing about? I mean, the narrator says that. He clearly can't understand what she's singing, but the tone of her voice suggests that it's not a happy or gay tune. So let's go ahead and take a look at this piece together. I'm going to go ahead and read it with you. I may stop just a couple of times to make a notation. It starts speaking to the reader, obviously, but not just the reader. Wordsworth's really, really cool. He brings us along with him. He wants us to experience what he's experiencing. It says, behold her. Well, who's he saying behold to? Us. But he's asking us to see what he sees. And it's such a beautiful thing. I love the Romantic poets. I mean, they just want us to take this journey with them and see and experience every wonderful thing or every curious thing that they encounter. Let's take a look at this. Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary Highland lass. That's telling us she's from Scotland, right? Reaping and singing by herself. Stop here or gently pass. I'm going to stop here just a second because I want us to think about that. You know, there are so many really beautiful things that we could see and appreciate in a given day, and I think that we go through this every time. Do we stop here or do we just gently pass? I don't know about you, but I wish sometimes in life we had more time to, quote unquote, stop here and really appreciate what we see, what we're hearing, those beautiful moments in the discussion board. Don't hold back. Feel free to tell us about those moments yourself, those moments where you stop and just listen or look, all right, at something beautiful in nature. Okay, alone she cuts and binds the grain and sings a melancholy strain. Oh, listen, For the veil profound is overflowing with the sound. And we hear this, like we kind of see it. Her beautiful music is just like going through the entire area, this beautiful veil area. Kind of like, if you will, this valley area. This beautiful song is just could be heard by anyone in this area and could be appreciated and for its beauty. All right, so let's move on. No nightingale did ever chaunt more welcome notes to weary bands of travelers in some shady haunt among Arabian sands. A voice so thrilling ne'er was heard in springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the plaintive numbers flow for old, unhappy, far-off things and battles long ago. Or is it some more humble lay, familiar matter of today, some natural sorrow, loss, or pain that has been and may be again? Whate'er the theme the maiden sang, as if her song could have no ending, I saw her singing at her work and o'er the sickle bending. I listened, motionless and still, and as I mounted up the hill, the music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. So clearly the author is saying he stopped to listen. And when he moved on, he bore it with him, that music carried. Have you ever experienced something like that? Something you just happened to choose to stop and hear, and it was so beautiful that it affected you profoundly? Well, this author didn't need to know exactly what she was saying to understand the tone of her voice. It's just a really beautiful poem. And again, I want you to think about in the discussion board what you think about this woman and how she's out there. Why is she out there? What is she doing out there? What is her story? And I want you to talk about that. I want you to talk about like what you see. If this were put on canvas, what do you see? Is this beautiful? And then listen to this. Or do you think this is kind of awful that this man has stopped to listen to her and watch her? Did anybody say, hey, why didn't you go help her? She's on her own. She's working a sickle. Why don't you go down there and stop writing your poetry and give her a hand? Does anybody think that when you see this? Well, you know, romantic poetry, it's beautiful, right? But I mean, come on, when we really think about this, it raises questions. She's singing this beautiful music, and they're just hearing the beautiful music. They know it's pain or sorrow of some sort. If it's humble or about some huge epic battle, I mean, that's what he's saying. But there's no real sympathy here, right, for the pain that she's enduring. As a matter of fact, they just kind of watch like they're in a zoo and then go on. Do you have a problem with that? Or should he have gone down there and helped her with the sickle? Anyway, so something to think about. It's just beautiful stuff, isn't it? Hope you're enjoying all of this material that we're working with in the Romantic period. And I can't wait to hear your responses. You guys have a great week. See you next time. Bye.